Hello guys, my name is Sam. If you watched my previous video, it was about HTML5 document structure, how to create HTML file through a notepad or using Visual Studio Code. I'm sure you have gone through Visual Studio Code online and checked out how to install. Once you have installed and everything, and if you have faced any problems, please do write an email at samgithub2019@gmail.com. Now today our basic tags will be covered in HTML, and we will learn about something about CSS which we missed in last tutorial regarding inline property, inline CSS or internal CSS. We did cover external CSS, even though we will cover external CSS in this tutorial as well. We will be covering internal CSS and inline CSS. Now we will be talking about some properties of CSS as well. So we will not cover the box model, but I'll just give you a fair idea about what box model is and how to use inspect properties and how to set other properties later on, how to use those properties in viewpoint of your box model. So let's begin with our HTML tags for this tutorial, and we will follow on through. Okay, so we will start Visual Studio Code. Now in the Visual Studio Code, my default folder is HTML5 tutorials. Now I did have previous files, but I have deleted those files. So let's make new file index.html. So as you know, for HTML extension you need .html or you need .htm extension. Both are acceptable. So this is our index.html. We'll type in a dot operator followed by enter. It gives us the basic structure. We will name the title of the document, which will show on the top left corner when we run through our live server. So HTML and CSS tutorial. And let's open another file with a CSS extension, which is for our cascading style sheet to style our HTML document structure. So I would name this as, let's say, style.css. And in order to use this as an external CSS, in last tutorial we learned that in order to use that style.css we need to link in our HTML document. So we can do that by link, and it gives you relative to style sheet, and we type in the location, which is style.css, because it's in the same folder. Now we have in our body section, we will use some headings for our HTML document. Now HTML provides not only plain paragraph text, but you can have 6 separate header tags, which is h1 to h6. Now they all define that these are important text. So if you have something like, let's say, resume, you can use h1 as a heading, or you can use h2 as a heading, and then following through you have certain things like qualifications or something like this. So you can define that in your h3 tag, or you can use h2 or h4 tag, whatever suits you, whatever you feel like, how you want your resume to be displayed. So in order to do that, let's start with something like meaningful h. Let's say we can just type in either angle bracket and h1, or you can type in just type in h1, and it will give you the starting and closing tags. In between, as we said in our previous tutorial, that every HTML tag has a start tag and a closing tag. and in between you have the content. Now remember that link tag that we used did not have a closing tag, so we will talk about that, why and what it is. It is quite simple, but let's stick through our heading tags for a while. So h1 tag, and let's say we type in something like biodata, or we type in something like a resume or curriculum vitae, whatever suits you. Now in our last tutorial we did cover how to align. Now we covered center alignment. So if we wanted h1 to be aligned center, then we can go to our style.css. In our style.css, all we have to do is just say h1 if we are not using h1 anywhere else except for the headings like resume. So in our case we will just be using h1 for our resume. So we use text align and center, and if we wanted this something kind of like to underline or something, then we can use another CSS property that gives you text decoration, and you can say underline. So if you run your code, go to index.html and right click there, you will see open with live server. Click on that, and you have resume in the center, and it's underlined. Now last time we covered something regarding backgrounds, so we won't be doing anything with the background today, but let's minimize our code, so you can see. Okay, okay. Now if you had something like, let's say, qualifications, then probably we might use h3 tag and say qualifications. And then if you wanted this to be highlighted in your external CSS, then you could say h3 and say h3, same properties, text decoration, underline. Now rather than doing this, you could give this as a general property. In order to do that, you can type in star operator, which is all throughout the document, but text decoration would be underline. Now if we do this text decoration underline throughout, and let's say we have this commented, which is, we said shift alter a, sorry, and we have this shift alter a. Now it still shows, but what if we put a star operator here, and if we write other things, like let's say we type in lorem, and let's say 50 characters, everything will be underlined, see. So what you do is, in your star operator you put all your general properties. So if it's going to reflect your rest of the document, then it's best advisable that you don't use star operator up here. Now we have other things like let's say we have in our h3 h4 tag, we have something like I won't go through bulleted list and all that stuff, how to create bullets and stuff. I will go through later on. We'll just stick to, say, let's say bachelor of science, and we have something similar to bachelor of science. We have, let's say, break. Last time we covered break tag, so we can use break tag. And we have something, let's say bachelor of science, and say diploma or certificate 4. Business management. And then you have something like your company name. So let's say you keep that your company name as H3, and in that you might have something like let's say you worked in a company, let's say Cisco Corporation. By default H3 is giving now underline, so we don't need to do we don't need to define that property again. And we have H4 tag, and we write something worked as a programmer from January 2011 to January 2019, or you can say current, something like this. And then you can say in your H5 you can say let's say you can say something like I have my job responsibilities where since I started working, something like this, something whatever suits you. Since I started working with Cisco, I have gained knowledge in developing front-end applications and so on, something like this. Okay, let's say if you have something like this, and then at the end you have something like a reference thing kind of, and you can say H3, and again you have references, and then you can define probably H5 again and say references Susan Almira, and then contact info or something like in the brackets you can say blah blah blah, some number. Okay, so what we have is we have H1 to H6. Now if I just give you a quick run through. So we have H1, we have H2, we have H3, we have H4, we have H5, and we have H6. Now H6, let's say we type in a character, probably A, and H5 we type in A, or probably we make it B, and probably C, and then we have six, 5, 4, 3. So you have H3, and you have D, and you have E, and you have F. Now if you see that character A is small, gets bigger. So H1 is the highest and then goes to the lowest. So if you remember, we have six tags. Sorry, it's we have six tags, and they all are used for headings, which is mark something very important. We have something called as paragraph tag, and paragraph tags are usually used for paragraphs, to define any paragraphs. And you have something, if you have two paragraphs and you wanted the text spaces in between, then you could use a pre-tag. So let me show you what paragraph does. So let's type in, well, let's say br, and we have a horizontal rule, and we'll cut this. So we have a horizontal rule here, and we type in paragraph, so that's lorem 20, and we have given some spaces here, lorem 20. Now if you notice that we have two paragraphs, but the space hasn't been included. Now if we write in paragraph p, sorry, and we write in p here slash. So if you notice that the space hasn't been included, what if we wanted this space to be preserved? Then all you have to do is write in pre-tag, and you go down and you write slash pre. So this way your space in between is preserved. Okay, so that's how you use a pre-tag. Now if you wanted your document to be highlighted, like let's say you have delectus up here, and you wanted this to be highlighted, which is important, then you use a tag called as mark tag, and in it cover it with the closing tag, and it marks a specific character called delectus, which is important to you. Now we will go through these properties probably in our other tutorials, but just remember that mark tag can be used for highlighting a certain word or certain paragraphs. Now let's go to style.css and style some style our documents. So let's go to style.css, and in that we will remove this, and we say body for the whole document structure. We say color is orange. Now this displays color, all your font characters, so they are color, and we wanted to give a background. Now in last tutorial we specified as background color, and then we said pink, let's say, and it gave us a pink color. Now if we define this, we can also define this way, background colon, and say pink. So that's a short way of doing it. Now you can define other properties in similar way. Now regarding this color property, we defined it as orange. What if we wanted to give some number, hexadecimal number? Then you can, if you knew hexadecimal number, you can go online and check out all the hexadecimal numbers for colors. And if you are specific about certain colors that you want to use for your background properties, then you can just type in hash color hash, and then the type of the property, let's say 11ff11. okay, and you have that semicolon, and you can see the color has changed to green. Now you can also use, rather than using hexadecimal, if you wanted to use RGB values, so R stands for red, G for green, and B for blue. And if you have something like it goes from so it goes basically from 0 to 25. So the highest is 255, which is red, And if you wanted a red color, 255 comma, and we have no other colors, so that will give you your color. We forgot a semicolon here. Okay, so you have a red color. Let's say if we wanted a blue color, then we can change this property to 0 and say 255 on blue, and you can get blue color, sorry, green color. And if you wanted blue color, then you say 0 here and you say 255 here. So that's your blue color. Now you can combine this text. Say you write in 10 and you write in 10 here. So it goes from, if you click on this one, it shows you what color it is. You can even change this to hexadecimal number. You can change to HSL, which I will cover it later. You can also adjust these properties up here in Visual Studio Code. So it can, you can change the HSL property. You can go again, you can click on this one. So if you highlight this and again click on this top blue here, you can get the RGB value. You can get hexadecimal. You can change those things. Let's say green, and then it will change to green. Now we have something called as for the font. If we wanted to change some font, then we can, let's say if we wanted our paragraph to be to have some font properties, then we have so many properties. We have font family, and in font family these are default. You can go online on Google and download those. We will cover those later in our tutorials as well. And let's say Arial. So the first is Arial. If Arial is not available, then you get Helvetica, and if Helvetica is not available, then you get sans serif. So either of these is available as a font. They are by default anyway, should be available. What if you had some online font designed specifically that you loved it and you wanted to probably import it, or you wanted to use it in your document structure? Then you can use that in your document structure. So that's font family. You can just simply type in Arial and it will give you Arial. And you have something font size if you wanted to change the size, and let's say 32 pixel. You can define it in pixel and you give semicolon. So that goes 32 pixel. You can have say 16 pixels, half of it. You can define 20%. You can define in many ways. You can define one EM. I'll call one EM and one REM. So say one EM, so 2 EM, let's say, goes bigger. And then you can write as one REM, or you can say 2 REM. So these are the ways to use your font properties. Let's say 10 pixel at the moment. We will use 10 pixel. And then we have something called as font weight. And you can define a number. So you can define 100. And you can go 200. So you can try all these properties later on. You can write it as font weight bold, or you could write font weight by default is normal, which is normal. And you can also style your fonts. So font style, and you can say let's say italic. All your characters should be in italic. Let's increase this font to 30 pixel. So you can have italics. And then as we covered our text decoration property also, let's not forget that if we wanted to underline, so you can have text decoration underline. And then you could have something like if you wanted this in an uppercase, then you can have text transform. So text transform properties allows you to capitalize, inherit initial lowercase, none unset uppercase. So let's say if we wanted to capitalize first characters, but in this case we do have a first L as a capital, so let's use uppercase. So everything should be uppercase, and if we wanted lowercase, we can just say lowercase. And we can have spacing in between, so we can have letter spacing, we can have word spacing. So if we wanted letter spacing, we can say letter spacing, and we have say 3 pixel, and then it will give you 3 pixel. And if we wanted word spacing, then you can have word spacing 3 pixel. And if you, let's say if we probably 10 pixel, or you can give 1 rem or 2 rem. So you can see all these properties, and it's best advisable that you use whenever you're making any HTML document, you're starting to design or something. Try these different properties, and that way you will get a hands-on experience on using different properties at different times. Now you can adjust the heights as well. So in order to adjust your height of a document, let's go to lorem, and you can say, let's say we remove this space, and we will go lorem, and we will say we'll remove this too. Now for line height property, you can use line height, and you can define line height as 1 em, 1 rem, or let's say 2 rem. So that way it will give you the line height. And then if you type in pixels, then you can type in 5 pixels, let's say, and that way it will go 5 pixels. So if you see, this line has been reduced, and that's because it's going through whole document. Now you can set the width property too of the document. You can set the height property of paragraph. So property, let's say width, let's say 100 pixel. So basically images for width and height are generally used for images. Now regarding the box model, let's go with the box model. If you right click, and if you right click on this one and say inspect properties, so this structure that's been shown here is the box model. So what it says is, this is your content, this is your padding, this is your border and margin. So just remember PBM. So your border is in between your padding and your margin, whatever is closer. So if you wanted a text, and if you had let's say if you had a border, let's define a property, border property, and that way we will come to know what exactly. Lorem 50. Okay, we have lorem 50 characters, and we have over here, let's delete all these properties, and we have margin top for paragraph. Let's say we give a border. Let's say border, and you can say I will show you the shortest way to do it. So you can say, let's say 1 pixel, and you have solid, line is solid, and you have red color on it. So, so we have this red solid pixel red, right? 1 pixel solid red, and now let's say we give, so this area up here on the top, if we set, if you go and inspect the box model back again, I'll just give you a fair bit of idea. Okay, so if you give a padding on top, so that is your padding area. This is your padding area up here, so the space up here, and then you have the border, and then on top you have the padding. So let's you have the margin, sorry. So let's set the margin to 0. So you can see it has moved up. Now if we give margin as 20 pixel, so you will be better, you'll be able to view properly. So that's your 20 pixel up here from the top, left, right, and bottom. Now you can also go here and check. So it tells you what's your padding area. So that's your 20 pixel up here, and you have a border of 1 pixel on each side. Now if you wanted just a padding on the left side, or a margin on the left side, then all you have to do is just go here and say margin left 20 pixel, and that way it will give you margin of 20 pixel. Now if you see that the rest of the document is also changed, now you can, by default you can say margin top 0. Since it has given, we will give margin top as 0. So it shows margin top is 0. Now right is 0, and we give margin top, margin bottom. You can give margin bottom as 0. You don't need to specifically do this, but I'm just explaining to you how margins work. So margin right, say let's say 0 pixel. So this you are specifically defining that your margins are only on the left side. And same thing with the padding that you can give. If you give padding, let's say padding top, and you give padding top is, let's say 30 pixel from the top, then it will give you 30 pixel from the top. So you can see that up here, that's 30 pixel from the top. So if you wanted to give padding on the left hand side, then you can give padding left. So padding is basically connected to your text. So padding left, then let's say 50 pixel, then it will give you padding left 50 pixel. So there you go. So you have from the top and you have from the left. Now You can also write margin properties in a different way, and in order to do that, let's delete this, and you can just say margin, and you can say 5 pixel, and you can say 10 pixel. Let's say if you define like this, you can define two properties. So two properties would be margin. First would be top would be 5 pixel, and if you see up here, top is 5 pixel and bottom is 5 pixel, and left and right are 10 pixel. So you have top and bottom, and then you have left and right. You can also define it as 5 pixel from the top, and then follow 30 pixel from the right, and then bottom 10 pixel and 1 pixel from left side. So if you see in here, you see 1 pixel, and then you have 30 pixel of margin. And similarly, you can give padding, you can have padding similarly. So let's say you can have padding as 5 pixel, 30 pixel, and that way it will reflect you it will show you 5 pixel, 30 pixel, 10 pixel and 1 pixel. So it goes clockwise, so 5, 10, 30, so top, and then goes right, and then goes bottom, and then goes left. Now we have covered this text formatting, and we have something called as bold or strong or emphasize or italics. We can give this, let's say we had something, we had a hello, and we wanted hello, sorry, we wanted bold. So this, let's say we wanted this text as bold. So we have B as bold. We can also give this as italics. So make sure what starts first ends first, ends last. So you have italics, and you have italics here. So all your text would be italics. Now we can also give something as, instead of, rather than giving italics and bold, so basically strong and bold, they are similar, but strong gives a meaning that this is important. So you write strong, and you can write again hello, hello, and you will have a bold text, hello, hello. And similarly, you can have emphasis inside, and say, let's say emphasis em, and you have something called as world, hello world, and you have something in italics up here. So I've covered a lot of properties today. We will cover more properties, we'll go through the anchors and hyperlinks, and we will talk about the unordered list and ordered list in our next few tutorials. We will cover about tables, and we will also cover something about forms, how to use input forms, so text box, checkbox, and submitting your forms, how to store those forms later on. We will see that. Then we will be designing a website on all the tags that we have used. We will try and use almost all the properties that we have studied today. Thank you for today. Please do pass me some comments, and please do subscribe so that I can make wonderful videos in future. It gives me more inspiration, and I can use my more time accordingly. Thank you. Thanks for listening to my video. Thank you.